Welcome to the first installment of our Learning Opportunities and Engagement series, a part of the Building GBV Evidence program at the Global Women's Institute. The aim of this series is to continue to engage and support researchers and members of the humanitarian community in conducting ethical and technically sound gender-based violence research on refugee populations. This presentation will focus on the question, why is gender-based violence research different? This question is very important for practitioners to consider before they start their research on gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is a complex public health problem that is rooted in unequal power dynamics and inequitable gender norms. Research and monitoring and evaluation of this topic requires researchers and practitioners to take a different approach to study design and data collection compared to many other public health topics. Given the sensitive nature of gender-based violence, certain measures must be taken before beginning your research. Now we will focus on how using a gendered lens when conducting GBV research is imperative. Using a gendered lens means acknowledging the role of inequitable gender norms in study design. Researchers and practitioners should take local gender norms into account when designing data collection activities and interpreting results. Let's take a deeper look into how to take into account local gender norms. In some cultural contexts, it is ideal for female enumerators to travel in pairs if doing household surveys based on their cultural views of women in public spaces. In such situations, it is better to hold interviews in a women-centered space if privacy in the home is an issue. When using a gendered lens, it is also important for a researcher to strive to examine, question, and change gender norms through data collection, analysis, and uptake processes. The following example from our own research will help us understand this concept better. In highly patriarchal contexts where the movements, mobility, and actions of women and girls are heavily restricted, intentionally deciding to survey or interview women in a safe and ethical manner is paramount. This may include hiring female data collectors, providing training on trauma-informed interviewing, or building pathways into existing referral networks so survivors can be connected to broader support structures even from their engagement in routine M&E or research. The last point to consider when conducting GBV research while using a gendered lens is for researchers to prioritize those who bear the greatest burden in the context that they're working in. Although men and boys also experience GBV, women and girls experience violence at much higher rates. Women and girls with additional intersecting vulnerabilities are more likely to experience GBV in refugee contexts. We will discuss the concept of intersectionality more in depth in the second installment of this series, but it is imperative to recognize that additional considerations must be taken when trying to conduct GBV research on women and girls who present with an intersectional identity based on their racial identity, ethnic or tribal identity, religion, and/or disability. Using a participatory approach when conducting GBV research may be tricky, but it's still important to utilize so the voices of women, girls, and the community are used to help guide the research. A participatory approach means engaging with the affected population, particularly women and girls, throughout the design and data collection process. Let's take a deeper look into how to use a participatory approach. You must facilitate local ownership and actively engage local groups in the design, data collection, and analysis processes in order to use a participatory approach. Ensure relevant local stakeholders, for example, actively involving women's rights groups, local leaders, and even government representatives, are engaged in the design, data collection, and analysis processes in order to foster ownership. Working with locally based researchers whenever possible will also help to achieve a more holistic understanding of the affected population's context. Secondly, one must ensure meaningful engagement with the community you are working with throughout the data collection process when using a participatory approach. In order to ensure meaningful engagement with the community during the data collection processes, use participatory research methods where logistically possible. Design and pilot data collection tools with members of the affected population. The final aspect of using a participatory approach is to aim to work with the community in order to understand and analyze data. Practitioners may work directly with community members to analyze and contextualize the data. You may share back data and findings with the community in accessible ways, including through popular reports, presentations, visual displays, stories, and even dramas that allow community members to use the information for change. This concludes the first installment of our Learning and Engagement series, which hopes to focus on how to better conduct GBV research and M&E. The Building GBV Evidence program is funded through the United States Department of State, Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration. You can visit our website at buildgbvevidence.gwu.edu to learn more about how to build GBV global capacity through the implementation of evidence building activities and improving monitoring and evaluation systems. Thank you.